But it drives me crazy. Yeah. Especially when they really don't like you're sitting on the back. There's like a parade of reaction. As they're like nibbling my face. Well, I really can't see them. You guys are horrible.
Everybody, welcome to the Sunday Dharma program. Today, the opening talk will be given by Brian Stubbs. Brian became involved with Zen practice in 2020. He started coming to PZC in August of 2022 and took 5 precepts in April 2023. As an aside, when I first started coming here, I thought Brian was already a senior Dharma teacher because he's always helping out. Currently, Brian works as a project manager for a rebar supplier after having worked as an iron worker for 24 years. He lives in Coventry, Rhode Island with his wife, Debbie, and they have 2 daughters. And then we want to welcome Zen Master Dae An, Bogumila Malinowska, who is here for Kielce, all the way from Poland. Witamy. Oh, that's right, England. Bogumila Malinowska is a guiding teacher at London Zen Center. She teaches in the UK and abroad and sits long Zen retreats regularly. She met Zen Master Seung in Poland in 1981. In 2005, she established London Zen Center 2 years after moving to the UK, with the spiritual support of Zen Master Wu Bong. She received Inka, authority to teach, from Zen Master Wu Bong in September 2009 at the Warsaw Zen Center. And she received transmission from Zen Master Ji Kwang on June 15, 2024. In her professional life, she is a licensed counselor, psychotherapist in private practice in North London. So, welcome to you both.
Morning, everybody. It was pretty cool. So I normally sit in the front, like for Sunday practice, and so I was way in the back today, and it was really cool just seeing so many heads in front of me. It's nice to see a full Dharma room today. It was funny. I found out I was going to do the talk Wednesday, and I never really plan. Like I just don't. And it was funny, yesterday I was talking to my daughter, like just about what was going on this weekend. And I'm like, oh, I got to give a talk. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And she was like, oh, you could talk about me. And though she's a wonderful kid, I probably won't spend a lot of time talking about her. I had a vague notion I was going to talk about precepts today, and I may wind up over there, but because there's so many new faces here today, I'm just going to kind of talk about how I ended up getting involved with Zen practice and why I'm still here. So I grew up, I don't know, like I always say my life was uneventful, but obviously events happened. And I lived in Rhode Island my whole life. I was brought up Catholic as a kid. I wandered away from all of that as soon as I turned, I don't know, I stopped probably believing in it, kind of, sort of, by the time I was like 9 or 10, but I had to make my mother happy, like whatever the deal was like, oh, you got to make your confirmation and then you can make your own decision. And then once that was done, I made my decision. And my parents had gotten divorced when I was about, I guess they separated when I was 8, got divorced when I was 9. And that's a fairly typical thing now, but I was born in like the 70s, so it was probably like 79, 80, like I think when they split up, in 81 when they got divorced, and I didn't really have tools to deal with all that type of stuff, like just it wasn't like crazy horrific, but it was my experience, and it was what it was, and as a result of that, I started to just kind of get angry. Like looking back on it, I can just see, there was grief and sadness and all this type of stuff, but I didn't know how to like deal with any of that stuff. So I just became a pissed off kid. And when I got a little bit older, I got into like, I don't know, 10 or 11, I started to treat like those symptoms with like drugs and alcohol, different stuff like that. Funny story, like the first time I can remember drinking was after seeing after school special about like the dangers of drinking. Yeah, so just let's check that out. And so yeah, like my drinking and drug career didn't last very long. I ended up getting sober by the time I was like 16, which could probably tell you I didn't have like lots of fun stories. Like I wasn't like at like lots of crazy cool parties or anything like that, like what that one sees on TV and film. I was more of I ended up in some weird spots, like just, like friends with a kid who just had like a van with no windows, and we would just kind of cruise around all the time. And there would be different people in the van at different times, but just that was life, like I got in trouble. I got thrown out of my house multiple times. And I don't know, I hit one treatment center, that one didn't work out. I hit a second treatment center. I was, and that one, I didn't know that would be like the last one so far. But that was in like 1989. Like, so I stopped the party lifestyle, and I stopped drinking and drugging in 1989. There was still like lots of chaos in my life though. Like I had taken like the stuff that was kind of the way it was described and the way I could feel it was like I was always restless, irritable, and discontented. Like that was just kind of how I always felt. And when I was drinking and doing drugs, that stuff kind of went away. And when you took the drinks and the drugs away, I'm left with like this restless, irritable, and discontented feeling. And I tried to take care of that by doing all sorts of different things. And I ended up, I was in AA for many, many years. And as part of that, like to kind of condense the story, I got involved like doing the 12 steps, different 12-step type of work. And as part of that, like there's a step on like, seeking through prayer and meditation to improve your conscious contact with God as you understand Him, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't know if I believed in God at that point. Still up for debate. But I started to like seek out different methods. And like that was my first, when I first started to get involved with like meditation practice was like, so that would have been like in the 1990s. And what I would do is I would just sit, like I ended up getting a cushion and I would just kind of sit by myself, and I would, there was like one other friend of mine that would sit, and occasionally we would sit together. And at one point I ended up actually even coming in here, like at some point in the mid-90s, and it was I think it was a Wednesday night. Like I think we did the dinner. I don't remember if I ate. Like I'm not always super social. Like I kind of like I can talk if I have to, but if I don't, I sometimes choose not to. And I did the orientation, and for whatever reason, I feel like we were sitting over here in a couple of rows, and then like we were sitting, and then when walking meditation happened, I must not have paid attention to what was happening with walking meditation, and everybody stood up, and I was at like the front of the line, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I just walked out the door, got in my car, and I didn't come back until 2022 actually. So in between like that time in 2022, a lot of life happened. Like I ended up getting, like life went on. I grew up, I got older, I got married. I've been with my wife since 1997. At some point, we decided we were going to do foster care. We did that, and a couple of the girls ended up staying. We ended up adopting them. That was probably like 2000, 13. They weren't related before they came to us, but yeah, that was just like how life unfolded. And at some point during my like journey to try to discover like like life was going on, but I still always had like this sense of just things being off. Like Buddhist terms, it's like I had these desires, and I couldn't even like articulate what those desires were. It always felt like something should somehow be different. Like it should just be different. Like why does life suck sometimes? Like it can be great sometimes, and other times it just sucks. And I was like on this roller coaster, up and down for years. Like on the outside, like things were happening. I got a job, we bought a house, like married, kids, blah 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 blah, and it was good, but I still had like this sense of just, like, at some point I ended up getting involved in like a church, and that was I don't know, I think I was involved with that for like 16, 17 years. And at some point, for me, it just wasn't working anymore. Like, I had lots of questions. Like, like the church I was a part of, like you had to believe certain things. And I had questions about those things. And I wasn't always encouraged to ask those questions. And I ended up like in a place of leadership in this church. So it really wasn't cool to have like these types of questions about like God, because it wouldn't look good. And like it was during that point, like my life just started to get kind of chaotic. It was probably more in my mind, but like I was super involved with church stuff, and like there was constant struggle with my wife because of all of the involvement with church stuff, because I was getting drawn into all these other issues like with people. And at some point it kind of imploded. There's a lot to that statement. But we ended up leaving that. And at a certain point, I was having a conversation with my oldest daughter, like my two daughters, one's 24 now, the other one's 15. At the point that this happened, she was probably like 17 or 18. And we were having just a conversation about like stuff. And she's like, oh, well, it's like we're in a cult. And we may or may not have been in a cult, but like something in my mind at that point just like everything I believed just kind of fell away at that point. Like, and I was just kind of like I just, yeah, like big don't know, doesn't, like everything I'd kind of lived my life focused on for like 16, 17 years just was gone. And that was a weird place to be. And after just kind of a few months of like mentally floundering around, like I started to like, it's like, I don't know, I felt a pull to meditate again. Like I hadn't sat meditation in probably 20 years at that point, but I had never thrown out my cushion that I'd bought when I was like 19 years old. It was just stuffed in a room somewhere. And so I ended up pulling that out. My daughter had gone off to college, and I can remember just setting that up in her room because that was the only like space to do it, and just sitting. And like whatever like one thinks about blissful meditation like that was not the case for me. Like when I started sitting, like it was just chaos in my mind. I had the idea that you weren't supposed to think at all. Like I've come to see that's not necessarily true. Like, the thoughts are always going to appear, but I don't have to attach to those thoughts. But at that point, like it was like a thought would come and I'd go for the ride. And I ended up I started doing that. And because my mind was so crazy, I started like using meditation apps, to just hear somebody else's voice droning in my head instead of my own. And I did that for probably, I don't know, a couple of years at least. And then I ended up, like, I'm a book reader, and I've watched like lots of videos and stuff like that. And at some point I started, there's this guy, Brad Warner, and I ended up like watching some of his videos, and the way he spoke about Zen, like I started like looking into Zen more, because at that point the stuff I was dealing with was more mindfulness meditation, and and it was like, and it was like the stuff where it's like, oh, it's good for stress relief and like all that type of stuff. Like there was aspects of that, but like I felt I was being pulled towards something more than just like, oh, well, focus well at work. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that was, it just, the questions that I had inside of me, it was like a lot bigger than that. Like really when like all the church stuff went away, like I ended up changing careers at a certain, I was an iron worker for years, and I ended up changing careers, kinda, like I'm still in the industry, but like not with tools on. And I was at this place where it was just like who am I? Like if you take away all these labels, it's like, I was an iron worker for 24 years. Anybody asked me what I did, it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an iron worker. And there was like a whole identity that was involved with that. And it's like, well, who am I when I'm no longer an iron worker? Now I work in an office. Like, who am I? Like, I have these kids right now, but eventually these kids will get up and move away. Who am I then? Like, I was a son. Like, what happens when parents die? Like all these identities that I had built up for myself, like I was looking for more than mindfulness meditation to so I was watching videos, and I just started to sit zazen, and I was trying to just do that, and I started to get away from the apps because they were just too noisy. They were just noisy for me, and at a certain point I ended up getting concerned that if I was just kind of sitting, doing my own thing, that I'd get weird, just listening to my own thoughts, you know what I mean? Because through my AA experience, I was familiar with my mind being somewhat crazy and coming up with crazy ideas, and I didn't want to get stuck in this place of just I just didn't want to get weird, and so I was. And it was at that point, like COVID was happening. So like most stuff was meeting online at that point. And I ended up like looking for places that were doing stuff online. And I think stuff was going on like through the quantum school online, but I had kind of like because of my experience 20 years before, was just whatever. I had this block in my head about like doing anything here again. And I found this group that would have met in Providence if they met in person, but they were meeting online. They were affiliated with this group in Boston, and I just started to sit with them like a couple of times a week. And as part of that, you could have an interview with the teacher. Like they were also a school that did Kwan practice, and so I started to kind of get a taste for like practicing with people, even though it was online. Like it was a different energy, I guess, than just sitting there facing a wall by myself. And I did that for, I don't know, a year and a half or so. And then like they started to have like some in-person retreats. Like, they do like a Zazen Kai, every few months. And I started to attend those, and I liked those. It's funny, I can't really tell you why I like those. Like if you were to say, hey, you want to just go sit in a room with a bunch of people and just stare at the floor for hours, but you get up and walk around every 25 minutes. But yeah, just do this. And but like something just pulls me towards it. Like, I can't really explain. There's like this pull towards it. And I was just kind of getting kind of more integrated into that group. And then at a certain point, the teacher was only going to be available on like a weekday morning, and that wasn't going to work for me because I work. A lot of people in that group were like retired-ish, and I couldn't necessarily meet at 7 in the morning just because it doesn't work well in my house. And at like one of the one-day retreats, I had run into Dave, and we were and I had started like looking at quantum school stuff again because I knew this group was going to start, but like I wasn't going to be able to make it, and I don't know, I had a conversation with Dave at that retreat, and like whatever thing I had that I had made in my mind kind of went away at that point, and it was just like, maybe I'll give it a shot. Like, and the online Sangha here, they do a bunch of events, and like they were doing like this 3-week, I don't remember what it's called, but like just like this 3-week online like intensive, for lack of a better word. That could even be the word, I don't know. But as part of that, I was doing, I got to do an interview with the teacher online, and there was a koan that I was working with in that other thing, and it just wasn't, like nothing was clicking. And when I had the conversation with that teacher, it was online, and like what I know now, it's like it's the stuff that you hear like generally in your first interview when you come do an interview in this school, but like it was just so clear at that moment, like it was clear, and yeah, it was like at that point, it was just like, yeah, you know what, I think I'm gonna ride this out here. I ended up doing an interview like the following week on a Tuesday with Jose, Zen Master Gong, and just it's like, hey, you know, what's the deal if you show up here? And I came that Sunday, and it's basically it felt like home, like which is it's weird for me to say. Yeah, but yeah, that was just the feeling. Like when I walked in through the doors, I ran into Diego, and it was just like, and it was fine. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff I had built up in my mind about how the last time I was here was, and all that, like it was just gone, and it was peaceful. And I came in, I did practice, and I've been here pretty much ever since. And it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, like just this practice again. Like I've just pulled towards it. But as a result of just kind of coming in and following the forms that we do here, you know, like we have sitting meditation, and if my mind's too busy for that, like I can do bowing meditation, I can do chanting, which is a side note I've like really didn't think I would like, but I actually really like now. Like I don't, it's just like if you've ever been at like a big concert and everybody's just singing at once and like you're just kind of caught up in that like energy, it's kind of like that, where you just like thought goes away and you're just hearing the noise and you're doing the chant and it's good. Yeah, like this practice, it's just as a result of just kind of sitting here and watching my mind and like not being attached to it. Like things have smoothed out for me. Like life still happens, things can still suck, but like in the midst of chaos, like having like doing this practice where it's like you know, Zen Master Gong talks about it, like bringing the like it from the penthouse down to the basement, like all that energy, like when I'm caught up in like just work stuff and like madness, like just like like all this stuff's going on, as a result of just sitting here practicing, of like bringing my attention back to my belly and following my breath, like in the midst of chaos, like I just do that now, and like even if my mind starts to go for the ride, like I don't go quite as far on the trip now. Yeah, and so life's good. So we're doing a one-day retreat next week too on Saturday. So like if anybody wants to come and like really dive in, come on along. With that, I thank you everybody for your practice, and I am done.
Yep. Thank you for your Dharma talk and sharing experiences and actually lots of information, you know, how we do in our school. And just to say, I am sitting now Kyolche, and is something very important for me because I work a lot, and leading some groups as well is, I'm not saying like I don't have a time to meditate. I do meditate every day, but practicing with the group and keeping silence is very, very important for me. And actually, when I start my practice in early 80s, that was the most important when I came for first retreat in Warsaw, Zen Center. It was the most important and attracted me to practice, to sit with people in silence and to share experience, share connection without words. So that was quite amazing. So as was said, you know, I was born in Poland and I moved to England more than 20 years ago, and I'm also mom. I have an adult son, so just to share, a very proud mom, and work, and was practicing. I met Zen Master Sung San a few times, the founder of our school, when I was quite young, and he was very encouraging, everyone to do some quite intensive type of practice, like many prostration, some kiddos, like chants, and also sometimes sending quite young people to long solo retreats, as he was coming to Poland maybe once a year, so it was a very long time ago actually. So I was very inspired by his teaching. Although similar like you, I was born in Catholic family, practically quite involved with church as well until I was like maybe 17, and then had my very intensive time of study, and then I met Zen Master Sung San. So this is time not about me, but I just want to little bit like tell about my story, and if you have any question about practice, formal practice, type of practice we do in our school, as well as if you have a question how to implement Zen practice to day-to-day life, I will be delighted to answer if I can. And any question, please don't judge your question. Any question can be very inspiring for each of us, and also is important for me, because this is also my learning. Yes, this is now time of question answer. Yes?
I have a question. I'm kind of new. This is my first day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm new, and I was just curious, how do you implement Zen into your daily life?
Yeah, this is very important actually topic and question, because sometimes we have let's say ideas about Zen, and Zen is also quite connected with different type of arts, martial art, and haiku, and even like design and stuff like that. Basically, I think when we come to any Zen group, any Zen center, is quite important to ask this question: how I can use Zen in day-to-day life, and also where is the Zen going? Because we all have some expectation and some, of course, ideas, and I don't think I was very clear when I start my practice, why I actually start this practice. I was kind of like, okay, let's, quite lucky to be honest, because there was not much access to any Buddhist practice that time, so I met Zen Master Sung San. So I learned quite quickly that Zen means understanding our true self and help others. So this is the main direction. And let's say on site is very important how we can keep a correct situation, correct relationship, correct function from moment to moment. So this is giving us kind of like compass why we do that. And then, as you can see, how we can be clear from moment to moment is quite practical, because the problem is we face every day many situations, and in everyday life we are challenged. Sometimes the challenge is like when I'm hungry, shall I eat or shall I not to eat? Even that is not sometimes as straightforward as we think. But sometimes we face quite complex situation in our life and in general, so it's quite important. The first very important stage is to keep clear mind. Clear mind is the base on being, having some tool in our hands. So if we keep clear mind, and we are equipped when we practice Zen, how to keep clear mind, then we have a bigger chance to reflect the situation clearly. It's almost like we became this clear mirror. And then the next stage, how we respond to the situation, that's also very important. And we, as a human, we developed a way of responding based on our experiences, our maybe people, important in our life experience. We ask for advice. We sometimes, read. We read books. We Google. So there are many resources how we gain some support. But sometimes in the moment, of course, logical thinking. But many times, sometimes in the moment that's not enough. So what is Zen doing? I'm not saying only Zen, but what is Zen doing is helping us to keep a clear mind. Means no judgment about what is happening. In certain, because if let's say if we have a mirror and let's say red appear, and in the past was something we saw maybe green, and we cannot let go green, then we have a red and green. So it's quite difficult to deal with the situation in fresh way. So it's how to be clear and how to be non-judgmental from moment to moment, and also what tools we use to deal with the moment. So then when we start to practice, we have many tools like sitting meditation, chanting meditation, prostration, and kongans. In Japanese they call Kwans. Also together action and retreat when we have a quite clear structure, so we can put on side our, let's say, our habits. So it's helping us to let go or just make our habits a bit weaker, and then to be in the moment quite clear, using some structure. So we, let's say, when we sit retreat, we have a plan for whole day. And keeping this plan, helping us not to fall to our habits and way of thinking as well. So behavioral habits and way of thinking. So Zen is quite practical. I mean, it should be practical. And doesn't mean like we have prescription for the whole life from moment to moment, but it's helping us to develop some tools, and we say, look to our true self, connect with our true self, and then we gain connected with our wisdom and compassion. So it's not like someone is giving us wisdom and compassion. We gain connection with our own wisdom and compassion. And that is very important from moment to moment in our life. So I hope I was quite long response, but I hope.
Thank you for your answer.
Yeah. More questions?
Use the microphone. So you mentioned and explained clear mind. Our school uses a lot of terms. Zen Master Sung-san used to say, I only teach don't know. Mm-hmm. And then there's clear mind, not moving mind, primary point, original nature. You used another term just a moment ago, true nature. Mm-hmm. Can you explain why there's so many terms and how it all comes together into one direction?
Mm-hmm. You ask question, I answer. So this is how we can human habits is to use many terms, names, and forms, and that sometimes is helpful, that sometimes is not helpful, and can really mislead us. So when we go to the first, let's say, Kongan meeting, we call Kongan interview, we start to learn how actually we can give up all these terms and names, And doesn't mean like we don't respect some names and form, but we tend to actually quite strong attached to the name and forms. And that's, I'm not going to analyze what is the reason of this attachment, because everybody might have their own reason, but it's quite important to look to this attachment to the name and form. And then when we have a Kongan interview, we have this moment when we are asked question. So you, this is the very first class in Kongan, during Kongan meeting with teacher and Kongan interview. So let's say you already know Zen means understanding our true self and help others. So then I ask you, how do you understand your true self? And then someone say, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So then there's next question, what is your true self name? And then someone might say George, someone might say Alice, but then teachers say, this is the name was given by your parents. Actually, my name was given by my grandmother, but I am not asking you by, your body name. I asking you about your true self name. And that's usually lead people to some experience. And the experience, we name this experience to help people, to help students actually to recognize experience. And we all have the experience. We call this experience before thinking and before name and forms. But because we live in the world of the name and forms, so it's quite difficult to stay without words. Although we lead person to develop this experience of before thinking, or we call don't know mind, and then we will give the tool how to when anyone is facing anything in their life, how the one can unlearn to go immediately to name and forms way. So how to not to go immediately to logical thinking. So it's lots of about unlearning, because we have a habit. Whenever we have a question, we usually go to our thinking. We usually go to our knowledge. And when we start to practice, the most important is to unlearn that. Doesn't mean like that's kill our thinking and logical mind. But it means like help us to not to be attached to thinking, not to be attached to the name and form. So the name and forms are not very, there are nothing wrong with the name and forms. But the problem is we get attached to the name and forms. We get attached to the high, low, bad, good, whatever, beautiful, not beautiful. So we really get attached to that. So Zen is how we can help ourselves to let go this attachment. So the names, as you asked the question, the names and forms are, we use actually help us to this kind of like let go attachment to the name and form. Using our experience. This is quite difficult to explain in the words and logic. It's about experiencing something. And that experience is coming when you, sometimes it's happening actually in our regular life. Sometimes we get to the almost like wall when we really cannot go through our thinking, our logical mind. We cannot find in our memory. We cannot find in experience. We cannot get the right advice. So we face something, and that was actually Buddha experience when he went through all different techniques. He went to something we can maybe call now don't know mind, when he kind of had to let go everything and stay with what is this. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. You mentioned transmission. What does that look like and feel like.
So you mean like transmission ceremony?
Yes.
Transmission ceremonies follow some training. In our school we have a first training to become Dharma master, and in Korean is called Jidopopsan, in Japanese is called sensei. And then you practice, and the first stage involves meeting teachers in our school, which is now 5 teachers. And then after some years, when one of our school senior teacher decide he or she want to give transmission, and then the person who is already Jidopopsanim is going to another training, which involve sitting retreats with Zen Master in Rinzai style from outside our school, which I did. So I travel to few places, and those teachers was accepted by our. There is a committee created, so it's kind of like the structure how it's done, and then after the training is done, bringing the result of the training to the committee, and the transmission teacher, in my case was Ji Kwang, Sansanim, and then the 1 year of silence. Doesn't mean I had to talk because I work, but means like I'm waiting time. And there is a transmission ceremony, which we have a script in the book called Dharma Mirror. Dharma Mirror is quite interesting book because it's including all forms we use in our school, and covers many ceremony, including precept ceremony, wedding ceremony, memorial ceremony, and Buddha enlightenment and stuff, as well as transmission ceremony. It's public. Both of stages is public, so it's done in a public situation. Thank you.
Good morning. So my question is, we put a lot of emphasis on being present and in the moment, and as things arise, and how to interact with that in the moment. I guess I have a 2-part question, both related to the same topic. So when we inevitably fail at that, and we, notice that we weren't being mindful, we did have a very, it was an interaction that didn't go the way that we wanted it to. How do we find compassion for ourselves and forgive ourselves for those things? And on the flip side of that, when someone else isn't mindful or says something hurtful, how do we find compassion for that person?
Thank you. So I think all of us and myself, we made mistake, and that's where the human approach to mistakes is either like self-blame or blaming others, feeling sometimes devastated. It depends on type of mistakes. Sometimes mistake can change really our life or other people's lives, and other ways sometimes to feel depressed or very upset about what had happened, and that's human responses, and that's very natural. Although when we practice Zen, we have another, let's say, I'm not saying like we move on, It's moving on sometimes means we ignore, what had happened. So Zen always is like, middle way somehow. So when we practice, we develop as Bodhidharma, first Zen patriarch, said something about awareness. Awareness is, or noticing, is very important human skill. Not sure if it's only human, but I guess when we practice, we can actually have this awareness. We can have awareness without practice as well. Maybe when we practice, we can have this awareness quite quickly, noticing what had happened, and then sitting with this. Sitting with this means processing, digesting. So as you mentioned, sometimes it's staying in our head when we start to think. Sometimes going to our emotional side, and we stay and we quite upset, and it's mixed sometimes. So very important to put this, this energy to our center, to our tenjon, or in Japanese they call hara, by using maybe prostration is a very, very good tool, physical meditation, or sitting, chanting, and then we process this situation somehow, and then the wisdom and compassion come up. So that means maybe we have a chance to apologize, maybe we become more skillful when we have a dialogue with someone who was very unpleasant. We just take responsibility in the way we, we grow, basically, we grow. And using mistakes is making mistakes is human, and actually it's impossible not to make mistakes. It's just illusion not to make mistakes when we go through life. And we don't have actually prescription, how to, it's lots of things is happening in one day only. And so it's very important not to be devastated. Even we devastate, we have a chance to digest that. Even we grieve, we can grieve because sometimes it means like we lose someone, we end some relationship, and that's very devastating. But it's very important to take responsibility. Means practice, and that will be digested sooner or later. Sometimes take time. Sometimes we might decide maybe we have a counseling or group something, like connecting with people, and maybe some more intensive practice, Zen Master Seung-san, any question he get, I am in this situation or that situation, he always say, 500 prostration necessary, night practice necessary, solo retreat necessary. Sometimes this intensive practice. Or if we don't do, if we start, just trying to be consistent, which take lots of building up motivation. I believe we can build up motivation by using, different resources, like the group, the community, we say Sangha, is very powerful source of support. Because even like you said, walking together or sitting together, keeping silence together or washing dishes together is very motivating. I mean, it can be motivating. But that is somehow give us this okay, other people are doing, and also is the chance we can put a little bit on side our, way of thinking, because there is no time. We have to follow the schedule. Way of thinking, habits, behavioral habits. Oh, we have to use my mobile phone. Oh, we have to, drink all the time coffee or something. We cannot do that, when it's retreat. So we have to kind of put on side and build up our motivation. And starting, I really believe, with small steps. If we just build up, and not to really judge ourselves. If we don't wake up on the morning, we decide to wake up every day morning, we don't wake up on the morning, then try next day, maybe sit a little bit longer retreat. So that's probably the most important, to give ourselves chance to digest mistake. And from mistake is big wisdom and compassion coming up. So we can help make our life clearer and others as well. Thank you for this question. Yes?
So thanks everyone for coming. Thank you for your talks. And we just have a few announcements. If you wish to sit a retreat with us, you will get a few opportunities coming up. We have a one-day retreat on March 1st with Zen Master Tangon, Jose Ramirez. And that is a retreat that anyone can sit, whether you've sat a retreat before or not. And we also have, mid-March, we have a retreat that's a joint retreat with Full Moon Sangha, which is a Japanese Zen Sangha. So if you are interested in kind of the commonalities between these Zen traditions, please register and sit with us. We also, of course, have Kyulche taking place. I think we have 4 more weeks after this. 5. Manuel knows because he's there all the time. So for that retreat, you do have to sit a shorter retreat before you register, and it's 1 week or more. So technically, you could sit a one-day retreat and then do the whole week if you're really ambitious. And you can register for any of these online on our website. A few other things. On this Tuesday, we have online practice and Kongan interviews with Zen Master Tangon. That's on Zoom. And we have our regular dinner and practice on Wednesday night. And we will have consulting interviews with Mark Brenner, who I think is a senior Dharma teacher, if I remember correctly. Yep. So the consulting interviews are more informal. It's not as much pressure as the Kongan interviews. And what else? Precepts. Brian mentioned precepts. With the next precept ceremony will be held on April 5th. To take precepts, you have to sit at least 4 days of retreat with us. And you can find information online about that as well. And then if you've been coming for a while, also consider becoming a member or leaving a donation. We do count on donations for a large portion of our operating costs, so every little bit helps. Join us for refreshments in the lounge. And do we have anyone who is willing to open the gift shop? Excellent. So the gift shop will be open as well. It's straight back past the lounge. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for everyone coming on Zoom. And we'll see you soon. Actually, hold on. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a picture. If you don't want to be in the picture, just get up and leave, no problem. But if you don't mind just being in a picture, sit back down for just 1 second. All right, I'm about to take a picture, so stand still, look enlightened. Dave, you're out of frame.
Good.